Hello everyone, Shirley here. It is so nice to be back into a new raid. Welcome to the Vault of the Incarnates, and today we're going to take a look at Raszageth, the Storm Eater on normal mode. And boy oh boy is arms in a weird place right now. You can basically spec two ways, I'd say, for this fight. You could kind of maybe hodgepodge together a third one if you wanted to. But those two predominant ways being just pure single targets and pure AoE. I opted for our first kill here Tuesday just to kill it on the AoE build because it's more fun to me in a lot of ways. So jumping right in here on the pull, being the Bladestorm build, of course, and we're going to go ahead and charge the boss, pop all of our CDs, and with the Bladestorm build, it's actually a little wonky. I'm going to have to make a guide for this soon, I know. But we're going to Avatar first, which procs our Bladestorm on the pull there, just to get up our Hurricane stacks, and then we're going to lead into our Warbreaker into Dragon Roar combo, do our Mortal Strike, use our big Merciless Bone Grinder Whirlwind, fill in that extra third global with an Overpower or whatever you have, and then we're going to Bladestorm again before our Hurricane stacks fall off. And that's just to maintain full Hurricane stacks during Thunderous Roar's duration. So anytime you have cooldowns up in single target, that's what I'm going to be doing here, with full CDs anyway. Otherwise, we're just sending things on cooldown here. I'm not sure how timings we're going to line up. This was our first kill, of course. So we're just going to be dodging these mechanics here in Phase 1, spreading out loosely around the boss for each of these not soak circles, but the debuffs that go out, spawn little adds, and we're just going to kick ours to instantly despawn that guy. You could also purge them, I think, and dispel them, but we got our second Avatar back up here, doing the same thing once again, Avataring beforehand to get Hurricane up into Warbreaker, Thunderous Roar. We don't have our, we kind of threw off our timing with our last Bladestorm cast because of the way anger management works now. That's a little awkward, but anyway, moving on to this mechanic, Lightning Breath. The first time that went out, the frontal cone, I leaped out of the way because I wasn't sure how big it was. It's not actually a cone. It's a lot more like Bunker Buster from Mechatork, if you remember that. It's just a line that she shoots out from that, from her mouth, of course, from that lightning beam. So you don't actually have to spread out that far away from that cone to avoid it, so it's not that big of a deal, really. I'm going to be saving our our next Bladestorm here, because we're going to be transitioning into our first intermission here. Don't just jump off this platform and think there's a wind current like it's Madness of Deathwing like I did the first time. You'll just fall off and die. Wait for her to knock everybody back, and then these three big storm adds are going to spawn on each side of the platforms here. I would also recommend you spec into Wrecking Throw for this boss because there's a lot of absorption shields. These Surging, Ruiner, big storm adds, they all have an absorption shield, and Wrecking Throw does bonus damage to shields and an instant cast, so I'm going to go ahead and use that there. Be sure to get up your deep wounds first at least, and, you know, Colossus Smash if you can, but otherwise just deep wounds. And then I'm going to burn off basically my cooldowns here as they come up on these adds. This is why I'm playing the AoE build, is just to Bladestorm all these little storm adds, throwing out our big juicy Merciless Bone Grinder Whirlwinds and Cleaves here, moving our way to the third add. I did delay my Thunderous Roar there just because those adds were about to die, so I was going to throw it on these guys here. In hindsight, I would probably try to not do that for future reference because it's just going to throw off your timings of Thunderous Roar and Avatar for later on, and you really want those to sync up as much as possible. So I would just use that rather, or try to set it up a little bit better. Speaking of which, going into that intermission, I would have saved my Avatar there to have it up on that first set of adds, ideally. But anyway, we're going to run to the middle platform here, taking these teleporters. We misdivided our groups a little bit here, so our left side was a little bit slower, so we just came over here to help them out with the last set. Luckily, we had a Warbreaker and a Bladestorm up to, you know, help deal with these adds here. It was a little spooky there taking the teleporter across because Raszageth does a deep breath strafing run on these platforms. Luckily, it doesn't seem to travel across the gap, so you can take those teleporters relatively safely without having to worry about that. But anyway, after we get down that second set, we're going to jump back to the middle platform, or the far middle platform, I should say, and go into Phase 2 here. I'm going to work my way over to the right side of the boss. I'm just trying to spread out as much as possible. For a lot of the lightning debuff mechanics, you want to be loosely spread out, avoiding the swirlies on the ground, that kind of thing. And now she does her first mechanic of this phase, which is Thaddeus, basically. there's a positive and negative charge that she'll give the entire raid group. And if you stack up with each side, you get a corresponding damage buff. So we had positive on the right, negative on the left. And this is where we want all of our cooldowns with this damage buff, of course, to go into this big absorption shield while she pulses damage. Be sure to use your, Avatar and Warbreaker with this damage buff and then Wrecking Throw into that, so you get a huge Wrecking Throw. I think my first one there hit for like 300-something K or something silly. But also, that's why I didn't want to misalign my Thunderous Roar earlier, because I really wanted it for that damage buff window with the positive and negative charges. I didn't have it until afterwards, so that's why you really want to, line that up better, because it is a ton of bonus damage on Raszageth herself. So ideally, we would have that lined up better. But otherwise, every time you see a absorption shield during this fight, use Wrecking Throw. It's easy to forget that you have the button. Other than these guys, they have absorption shields, but you just kick them to get rid of them. But we're gonna spread out once again, and she's casting Tempest Wing during this. You should be throwing up Reflect if you have it for each one of those, just to help mitigate some of that magic damage that's going out. You can't jump over it. We tried, so just deal with it like you normally would, mitigate it a little bit. I'm going to leap over the left side here as the second Storm Surge goes out, and I get the negative charge here, so we're going to stack up. And don't have quite all my cooldowns up just yet. I should have held on to my Wrecking Throw here for the very end of this bubble. That way I could have clipped it inside the Colossus Smash window. But it's, not a big deal. Once again, Thunderous Roar should have been used during that as well. And we're going to spin here and spread out with this lightning debuff that goes out once again. I think this is the ad spawning one. Just going to kick these really fast. And try to loose spread. And it's kind of a habit of mine that I would recommend a lot of people get into, is when you're progging a fight, be in the same spot as much as possible. That way your raid team and the people around you are used to where you're going to be in positioning. So I'm going to work my way back over to the right side of the boss here, just so people, get the idea over time that that's where I want to be. That's where my spot is. People can spread out around you accordingly. So even though I got the negative debuff, I'm going to work my way back to the right side. This is where I tried to leap over the little thing, the ring that comes out. You can just run against it. I don't think leap was really necessary there, but I wanted to try it. It is the first couple of weeks. It's time for science. But we're just going to be spreading out for all these storm surges and stuff. We're going to go back into the third time she does this and get our positive charge, stacking up with everybody here and using CDs. We don't have everything up for quite some time here. Maybe if I had timed this better off the rip, this would have lined up for each set of these. It looks to me like it would still be a few seconds off. So don't worry too much about it. We're just going to try to get in as much damage as we can. However, this, as my cooldowns come back up here, I'm not going to be using them, because once she reaches 100 energy, she's going to go ahead and transition into our second intermission phase, and I want to have all my cooldowns up for second intermission, because she takes reduced damage here. And she's going to spawn this big colossal storm guy in the middle here and spawn a bunch of swirls and stuff. Just dodge things as you normally do. And we're not going to use anything on this big boy yet, because we're saving things for all the little guys he spawns. He does spawn these pulsing orbs that spawn around him and shoot out. It's a little bit troll that they can spawn like right on top of you. They do stun you for like a half second, but it's not too big of a deal on normal, at least. That'll probably like kill you on mythic. So I think his hitbox is big enough that you can stand at max melee range and probably see those spawn and not get hit like right here as they're spawning once again. But as he moves to the other side of the room, he spawns a bunch of little storm ads. That's what I was saving all my cooldowns for. We're going to go ahead and burn all those off. Here's the second set. And since these things have low health and die so fast, we're just going to immediately send Blade Storm. I didn't quite have Warbreaker back up yet. We're just going to drop it at the end just to pad out as much damage as you can on these little guys. And we're going to take out the Colossal Storm Fiend on this third side that he moves to and drop him. Now we're just avoiding things on the ground for a little bit before we go into Phase 3. And on that note, I wanted to touch on when the little storm ads spawn, you can mix up your cooldown timing a little bit as an Arms Warrior in AoE. So for example, in single target, you would Avatar and proc the Blade Storm first into Warbreaker Thunderous Roar. But in AoE, where things are going to die very quickly, I would recommend you do it a little bit backwards. You would Warbreaker first, Thunderous Roar, and immediately Blade Storm. That way you fit the Bladestorm channel, the Avatar, the Thunderous were all within that Colossus Smash window, and stacking Hurricane during it. Because the ads are going to die so fast, if you wait and do it the normal single target way, they're going to be dead and you're going to lose all your value out of Thunderous Roar. So I would recommend doing that. But anyway, we're going to jump over to the third platform here. And this is where we're going to use our Bloodlust, and second potions come back up, or they were up at this point. So we're going to use those here as well. And this is just a single target burn phase, dodging the swirlies and stuff. She does do a lot of the mechanics from the previous phases, though. The people that get the big lightning circle around them, we're just going to run out to the edge of the platform as far away as we can. And I do believe the damage is reduced by drop-off range. So if you see this go out on everybody, even if you don't have it, you can throw up a Spell Reflect just to help mitigate that explosion when it goes out. You can alternatively use it on the pushback there that I just did. We're going to be dodging the Lightning Breath still, moving around. And there's also a tank mechanic that goes out that's a big burst of damage, and if you catch it, you could also Spell Reflect for that, just to help mitigate. There it is right there, that big chunk of damage. We did, call for personals right there, so I popped Parry just to help mitigate that some. Unlike a lot of classic dragons, the Raszageth here doesn't appear to have a tail swipe, at least not in normal mode. Maybe that's a mythic mechanic, I'm not actually sure. But you can get behind her comfortably too when you're spreading out. But as the room is filling up on the outsides with lightning, it is just a race to the finish before everything is covered and we run out of space. That last set of big debuff lightning circles, we opted to just sacrifice and jump into the pools. And down goes Raszageth on normal mode. And yeah, that's it. Really fun fight. Super excited to get back into making guides and everything for this raid. So if you guys liked the video, please leave a comment and everything down below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I will try to have my talent build that I did pinned or in the comment section somewhere down below. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.